Guys, what's up? This is Dave Palmer here with This Trick is Sick this week. Just wanting to give you the next little bit of our rods, bearings, and rings. The kind of the two parts that I told you about that I had to split this video up in, and I just wanted to let you guys know that this video will finish us up on this little bit of part of the engine. And I do apologize that we had to make it in two parts, but I just had too much video and too much good information just let go. So thank you, Kevin Blumenthal, MMA Max, Summit Racing, Pete's Machine Shop, J&H Tire, and the Ampco boys and everybody that helps us out. So we're going to get on to the video so you guys can finish watching and finish up the all this good information on this LS engine. And now after this video will be next week before we post some stuff about either the time and chain install, the heads, lifters, cams, stuff like that. So that'll be another series. But remember, this rod, rings, bearings, and stuff like that is having to be in two separate videos. So make sure that if you haven't watched the first video on it, make sure that you watch it. So I'm sorry I split it up, but just too much info. So guys, we're going to get to it. Thank you. Okay guys, we got all the rings ready to go. Now we got to orient the rods and the pistons. Your pistons here and your rods have to be oriented a certain way. First of all, your firing order is basically it's different than old school, but the cylinders still go the same. So what cylinder are we at here on the front of the engine, Hannah?
1, 3, 5, 7.
And then this side? 2,
4, 6, 8.
Okay, so basically you guys that know about engines, that's going to be the same as any other. So, or the old school blocks. This is the front of your engine. You want all your valve reliefs. If you don't know what a valve relief is, that's right there. That's the indentions on your valves. Okay? Those need to be pointed up towards the center of the engine on the top. So all your valve reliefs need to be on the top side. Okay? Same in old school. Also, whenever we're talking about your rods, Hannah, go ahead and crank this thing over. Turn the engine upside down, babe. Okay, while she's turning it upside down, right here, we've got a rod. Okay, you're going to notice one side's got a real light beveling right there, little beveled edge where my thumb is. And this side right here is going to have a larger beveled edge. That larger beveled edge needs to be on the radius of the crank. The part that kind of rolls up on each edge. So, if we're looking here, this side right here rolls up. Believe it or not, if you can see microscopically, this edge rolls up to the outside of the crank. This side right here rolls up. This is the radius, okay? It rolls up to meet that. And this side here, if you can see it under a microscope, it rolls up to this outside edge. That's why, if a lot of people didn't know, that's why you got your beveling right here. It's got to compensate for that roll up. So the largest rolled side of your rod is going to go towards this, your counterweight. And or you could flip it over, and since the beveled edge is more on this side, it could go that way. See, you always put that large beveled edge, you point it towards the edges, the counterweight side. And the main reason, like I said, is because that beveled edge is to compensate for a little bit of roll that the crank has. Like I said, the metal under a microscope right here on the edge rolls up right here and right here. So they compensate for it on here. So make sure that your pistons are pointed right. You can go ahead and turn her back around, hon. Make sure that on the bottom side that you got that beveled radius edge towards the counterweight. No matter which side you do it. This is good. Just make sure this is flat. And so like down in here, this is the large beveled edge right here. It would go against the counterweight right there. And then make sure that your pistons are pointing, the valve relief is pointing towards the top of the engine. So that's how we're going to put them together. So we're going to get after it. We're going to put the rings and stuff on the piston. We'll show you guys how to do that here in a minute. But for right now, we're going to put the rods and the pistons together with the wrist pins, right?
Clean it off.
All right. Okay. Also, whenever you get your Eagle rods, you get one of these aftermarket ones. They're going to tell you that the pounds of torque to torque your ARP bolts. So like these are at 43 foot-pounds for a small block Chevy. It actually says it here on the paperwork. So that's what you'll torque these to when you torque them. Also, whenever you put your wrist pin in, like this, and you order your pistons to do the floating wrist pins, the ones that I recommend, see how smooth that is? You will clip your clips into that groove. You will get it started like this, and you will slowly push it in with your finger, and then use a flathead screwdriver to finish it out. And then to double check it, you will set and you will press on it and move it around, and you just want to make sure that little pin or this little clip is in that groove right there. There's a groove right there, and you want to make sure that it's in there. And I mean, it's pretty simple. So I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, I could show you right here right now. You can take this right here, and you will see me kind of work it around here nice and easy. And you can roll it in almost by hand. See? I just rolled it in with my thumb. And then what you do is take your flathead and I push on it. And I make sure that it's in that groove. You do not want to leave a loose clip. Also, you do not want to push down on that clip too hard because you will weaken it. You want it to have tensile strength for the expansion. You want it to expand into that groove so that it doesn't come loose. So say you just do that, and then you get ready to put this in, but we're going to put some lubrication on everything, and we're going to make sure that we orient our pistons correctly. Remember, you got to have the radius towards the outside edge of the journal, point towards the counterweight, and you got to have the valve relief point towards the top of the motor. So you guys just follow along as we piece them together, and then we're going to lube everything up. We don't use standard oil. We use everything with the engine assembly comp lube here that I told you about, the 104. So everything will be assembled with that. So, all right, guys.
Get ready for a deep dive.
Okay, we're about to put the our bearings here, our rod bearings on, and I went with a tri-coated moly again, an HNK CB663 HNK, and the only thing that you want to make sure on this when you're putting these on is just make sure that you get them in the right groove on the deal. A while ago I just loosened these up so they'll pop loose, and then we'll pop these on and we'll oil them up. Now remember, this is the time that you do your plastic gauge if you have not plastic gauge. Now we're not going to do it this time because we've already mic'd and we used a different style to check all of our bearings. So if you want to check your bearings, you can use plastic gauge now. If not, or you're good to go, you can go ahead and just oil up these main bearings. So we're gonna get to it. So we're gonna put these on, and then we're gonna oil them up, and then the next thing is to put the rings on. So thanks, guys. guys, got all the bearings put in for all the rods and whatnot. Just wanted to give you a quick reminder. We did use the Molly standard size because remember, you gotta ask your machinist what you size them for. So what you're gonna do is I just want to double check to make sure that you know we did order the tri-coat stuff from Molly, but there is a little groove right on your piston and rod that your bearing fits into. You want to make sure that it's seated. You want to make sure you also clean that part out. So just take your little rag, wipe it out, make sure there's no trash, and then you see that little groove right there. You just put it right there. Your bearing will have the little notch with the groove as well. So what you'll want to do is you want to make sure that you get it clipped in, and also whenever you do put these things back together, make sure that you pay attention that your large beveled edge is on your large beveled edge, because if you flip it around, it's going to be kind of, out of whack, and it'll be kind of funky. So, but just make sure one side looks like the other. So, all right. Now we're going to get on to the rings. Thank you, guys. Okay, guys, I'm going to show you how to do my rings. I don't care really how anybody else does theirs. I'm just going to show you the way that I do mine. I even numbered these to help my daughter, and just to kind of show you guys that up means it's referencing the top of the motor for the valve reliefs and your number one piston. Just to help her out and kind of give a visual for you guys. But on the rings now, what you'll want to do is what I generally do. I start with the oil rings, and I will put the bottom small ring on. I will put the next oiler ring on, and then there'll be a small ring goes on top of your oiler. It's in your number 3 package here. You'll have to show Heather or Hannah. You'll have one of these, and you'll have 2 of these right here. There'll be 2 of those. So basically, if you can make sure you're videoing this, Hannah, what you'll want to do is you'll want to slip, well, I forgot. Slip your oil ring on. This is the way I do it. And it goes on your bottom. And you make sure that you butt them. And then what I do is then wherever your slit was on your oil ring, make sure you kind of go off like 90 degrees from it. And go on the bottom of it. You go on the bottom of it just like that, and you'll roll these things on. Sorry. I just noticed I had 2 of them here. You'll roll, well, let me get this thing back straight. Okay, got your oiler. Go 90 degrees off. Roll that bottom one on over the bottom. And then what I do is I'll go 90 degrees from that, come back around here for your opening, and then roll this one on. Okay, there you go. And your opening is like right here, another opening is right here, and then your other opening is right around in here. So you've got that, you got separated openings everywhere. So, and then what I do is I will take my number 2 ring, which is your number 2 that's down, and you'll make sure that your letter's up or your beveled edge, that it's upward. What I generally do is I find where the very top of my oil ring, the last one that I did, the gaps right here, what I generally do is I'll go opposite. So I'll put it right about here, right on the top, and I'll roll it around right there. And then I'll take my number 1 ring, make sure that you've got the letter, the beveled edge pointing up, and see how the opening's right here on top. flip it around, go the opposite way. You don't want these to be lined up, these openings, because you'll lose compression and it will not work right. So you need them to be separated. So everywhere there is a ring opening, the opposite side on all of them are going to be adjacent to the other. So, and then another secret that I do is I will make a little bucket of oil up. And a lot of guys, I don't know what they think about this, but I always just set these in a bucket of oil until I'm ready to put them into the block. So that was my advice on the rings. Make sure that you know, some guys like to do a 45 and point one down. Whatever you want to do, I just go adjacent or 90 degrees roughly, you know, try to crisscross them. And like I said, you do not want these openings to be lined up. So let me get to the rest of these rings and you guys just follow along. Okay, something that I like to do, guys, is I like to bathe my pistons and rings and stuff in oil. So what I will do is I'll get a few quarts of oil here, and I will find me something clean to put this stuff in. And what I'll do is I will pour me a little jug here of it. And then what I like to do, and I don't know why I do this, it's just something I like to do. I like to make sure everything's lubed up real good. I'll find my my number one. Let's see here, right here. And basically what I like to do is I'll take that top off there, and the bearings are installed, everything's ready to go. I will double check my rings, make sure that they're situated right. Like I said, one opening here, one opening there, and then crisscross all the openings and make sure all your O-rings and whatnot are good to go. This all looks good. So what I like to do is I like to just dip her in there.
Get ready for a deep dive.
Little tip and trick here. This is going to be pretty sick. You need to really pay attention to this one. This one's very different. A lot of people don't know about it, and a guy from NASCAR is the one that showed me how to do this. Okay, first of all, whenever you do put your, you know, you see me oiling and making sure that the rings were, sorry about that, make sure that the rings were offset from each other, like one gap over here, one gap over here. Just make sure that they're opposite sides away from each other. Make sure that they're in their groove nice and neat. And like I said, I go ahead and soak them a little bit. I also soak the cylinder. And that's the only place that I do put the engine oil at, except for adding it as engine oil. Everywhere else I use assembly lube because of the extra zinc in the break-in. I've noticed that my cars last a long time. My engines do very, very well. So also, whenever you're putting these things together, if you didn't know, some bearings don't say anything on them, some do. These bearings actually say upper and the others say lower. Your lower is going to be on the end of your cap. Your upper is going to be on the upside of your piston. If it doesn't have that, doesn't have any names, some of your race bearings actually will have a beveled edge. Remember, all beveled edge goes towards the counterweight side, because as it's machined and cut, when they cut these cranks from the factory, remember, when they go towards these counterweights on each side, the metal actually under a microscope will roll up. So that's why there's a beveled edge, a radius right there. So make sure that you get your bearings right. And I'm going to show you a little tip and trick that I learned from this guy with NASCAR to double check. So let's say that you want to double check even after you've done all your miking, you think you've got the bearing straight. I've actually been down to the nitty gritty and did a check and went, oh my God, what happened? Backed everything off. It just had a funky little feel to it, and found that I'd accidentally flipped one set of bearings around. Just wasn't paying attention, was talking to some guys. That was 10, 15 years ago. So I try to build my engines to myself, if you haven't noticed, besides my daughter helping me. So what you do is you take your torque wrench. And here's a little tip and trick here. This is pretty sick. And you put your bolt in the front of your crank or your adapter or whatever, and you add 5 pounds for every rod and piston setup to your torque wrench. So I put 2 pistons in, piston and rod setups. Now go ahead and torque them. Remember, ARP told us torque these at 45 pounds. 40 to 45. So we did 45 foot-pounds. We've already torqued them. And to double check yourself, it's 5 foot-pounds for every setup. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 when you get to the end. So as long as you put 5 pounds at a time, okay? And right now, I've got 2 in. So that's 5, 10. So I put 10 foot-pounds on here. If you put this on the end of your crank and it clicks, then something's wrong. If it doesn't click, then you're good to go. That's how I do my last final check to make sure that all bearings and everything's good to go. No clicking. Look how smooth that is. No clicking. Nothing. So, smooth as silk. If you turn it and your torque wrench goes click, click, you got something wrong. Swear to you guys, know it sounds crazy. I was showed the old school trick. It's got me out of a pinch twice since I've been building engines. And like I said, I checked one and I had a bearing flipped around. It's just crazy that he knew exactly how many foot-pounds that every piston and rod had that is in a performance or race engine drag on the cylinder wall. So it's 5 foot-pounds of drag for every piston and rod setup. So you put your first one in, check it real quick. 5 foot-pounds, make sure it doesn't click. Put your next piston and rods in with rings. This is a complete product. Turn it around. If it doesn't click, go to the next one, and to the next one, till you finally get to the end. I've done that last double, triple check right there. Never have had any issues. So that is this trick is sick. And you guys know I show you little tricks of the trade around here that are pretty wild. So that's one of my wild ones that most people haven't ever even heard of. So, and it's one that I personally use. So you guys try it out and it'll help you ensure that your engine building goes perfect. So anyways, I'm going to get back to it, and we're going to get the rest of these rods and rings and pistons put in, and you guys just follow along. All right, thanks guys. Alright guys, thank you guys again for tuning in to This Trick is Sick this week. We do appreciate you on this LS engine build. Thank you to Kevin Blumenthal. Thank you to J&H Tire, Pete's Machine Shop, Summit Racing, Ampco Electric, MMA Max, and everybody, each and every one that helps us out every week. So if you guys got any questions about our build, please post them on YouTube, and I'll try to get to you on the questions. And we're just going to keep at it. So stay tuned next week for our next episode, and we should be doing some head gaskets, or maybe the timing chain. So and there's some more tips and tricks I can give you guys, and I hope you appreciate the ones that we gave you. So any questions, let us know, and God bless and Godspeed. Thank you guys.